Tame Psychotic sells out every single drop. No ads, no huge budgets. But most brands that try to copy them completely miss why it works. So in today's video, I'm going to show you the real reason why it works, why good products aren't enough, and how to copy and personalize their system for your own brand. Now, I've worked with a handful of multi-seven-figure apparel brands, and this playbook is the closest thing I've seen to a cheat code. So to start, let me show you why most brands get the first step completely wrong. So if we look at Tame Psychotic's Instagram page, I think anyone would agree that there is a certain level of coherence and just sameness about the colors, the outfits, the products. It's like a whole immersive world and experience that you step into when you open their page. And so most brands that see this think they have a content problem. I want to look like Tame Psychotic, and so what I need to do is improve my content. And of course that makes sense, but that is the first thing that most brands get wrong. It's that the problem you need to solve is further upstream than you think, and therefore it's affecting the content you post. And I like to think of it like writing a college essay. Now, you could sit down and say, I'm going to write this essay, look at your page, and it's totally blank. You just see your cursor blinking and you have zero ideas. And the reason why is because you haven't started with a structure or a plan going into it. Whereas if you do have that, well, of course, you sit down and the ideas start flowing, you know what to say because you have a basis from which to write. If you just look at Tame Psychotic's brand and go out and say, I'm going to make better content, you'll end up hitting a creative block. Whereas what you actually need is the foundation that the founder Marshall and his team has laid out to be able to create a brand as successful as what we see in Tame Psychotic today. But how do you do that? Well, I'm just going to walk you through the structure of how to build this foundation for yourself and personalize it to your brand, whatever niche you're in. And here's what it looks like. It starts with the brand identity. Then there's the organic content model, which is the same model that only the top 1% of brands are using at the moment. And if you use it, you'll be putting yourself among them. And then finally, there's how you convert followers into buyers, and you put all those three things together, and what you have is the foundation for brands like Tame Psychotic. Now, I'm going to walk you through each of these sections step by step now, but if you miss any part, none of it will work and it'll all fall apart. So listen up. For step one is the brand identity. Now, brand identity is a bit of a buzzword that's been thrown around in recent times, but what is it really? Well, for the example of Tame Psychotic, if we look through their page, their coherence really always stems back to this same character, just in different forms that we're seeing over and over again. And I think this image here is the perfect embodiment of that. Let's call him the American bad boy. He's got the hair, the style, everything that you might expect in that stereotype, if you will. And then the rest of their page and their brand is then just the style, the lifestyle, and the beliefs of that person. So they're the three elements. So let's just look through. We've got rock music, someone with a rock guitar there. We've got, of course, the fashion. We've got the smoking. I can see like the lighters here. There's, again, more concerts. There's probably a bit of rebellion. And I think this is Marshall Cruz, the founder, here in a video where they're pretending he's peeing in the snow outside someone's house. So you can see everything in their brand is building this identity that over time, as you see their content, you have a real sense of what their brand image is and what it means when you wear their products. But how do you build this for your own brand? Well, there's actually three parts to having a really strong brand identity, and they are the founder, avatar, and then product. And you do them in that order. And so first we have the founder, and this is the part where you ask yourself the question, who am I? So let's just take a moment to look at the founder's page, Marshall Cruz. And it's really interesting because you can see this progression over time of who Marshall becomes. In the beginning, from what I understand, Marshall had this gym business or PT business. And so he was really this kind of PT young buff guy who was showing people exercises. And so that's where his identity identity really begins. But over time, you can see the aesthetic just begins to change. It all gets a bit darker. And then this is like the real turning point where he's like posing in front of cars. We've got the city. So this is like, let's call this the urban era for Marshall. So we go from gym era to urban era, and then we start seeing things like motorbikes. And then of course there's his clothing brand launch. And then he kind of goes a bit deeper into who he is and who he wants to become. And that's when we see the third and final shift that I believe, which is going to be the grunge era. And here it is here. We see the guns, we see this kind of wartime imagery, denim, very kind of hard colors, smoking. There's the Marlboro. You can see the progression over time of who he becomes. And so that's just asking yourself a series of questions. Who am I? And you can even plot this out on a chart to write your name in the middle of a page. And around it, write all the different things you're interested in, lifestyles, traits, beliefs, activities you participate in. Might be going to the gym, maybe riding motorbikes, maybe going to rock concerts. Whatever that is for you that kind of piques your interest, that's the founder stage of creating your brand identity. But it doesn't start to take form until we move to stage 2, which is the avatar stage. And what we're doing here is we are imagining an alternative universe version of yourself if you were obsessed with one very particular aspect of who you are. Like I showed you in Marshall's progression, Marshall's a lot of different things. We can see this. And because he's, he goes to the gym, he also likes streetwear type things, and he's also very urban and grungy, okay? So he's all these things, but what he's done with his brand is he's decided, well, my brand can't be all of these things. So for the alternative version of myself where I'm ultra obsessed with one of these things, I'm just going to pick an element, and that element is going to be the grunge. And that's what we see in the avatar that he's targeting. He's kind of created an avatar out of a specific part of himself. And now we get to see that in all the different characters and models and imagery that's on his page. And so the way that you do this for your own brand is go back to the page that you wrote all those different traits about yourself with your name in the middle, and just pick one of them. It could be any. Ideally one that you are really passionate about and you genuinely see yourself in. But the one that you could imagine, all right, my alternative universe self that's not interested in all these things, it's just obsessed about this one thing. This is what it would be. Take that person to an extreme. That's going to be the avatar. An even better way to think about it is to stereotype yourself. So if you were one of those TikTok stereotypes or Instagram stereotypes, like the one we started with, the American bad boy, then who would you be? And make that the basis of your brand identity. A really fun way to do this is just to search list of aesthetics on Google. And there's this website here. It's kind of weird and quirky, but stick with me, where it just gives you a list of all of these different types of aesthetics and subcultures and niches and exactly what we're talking about, stereotypes that you can play on. Just look how many there are here. It's crazy. It goes A to Z, but let me just click on one and let's just go back to the top here and say 90s cool. All right. So I click on 90s cool and it has all this information about the subculture. And then I scroll down, it even has some of the style. So that's perfect. You can base your drops around that. And then I scroll down even further and we have a whole gallery that depicts exactly what it looks like. And so your goal now is to make your page look like this. This is your mood board. Let's just scroll to the bottom and pick one more at random. Y3K. I've never heard of this in my life. All right, so it looks pretty futuristic. And then let's scroll down. Great. We've got the glasses, probably some Oakley glasses with some additions to it. Very much silver, chrome. All right, super cool. This now is my basis, my stereotype for a whole group of people in society, the subcultures that are related, all the things that I need to actually build my brand identity upon. All right, so now we've got the brand identity, but nothing's actually left the page yet. This is all just still a concept. So how do we turn this into actual content that grows the brand? Well, now I'm going to show you step 2 of this playbook where TAMED PSYCHOTIC creates organic content that's so good at growing their brand that they don't even need to spend a cent on paid ads. Now, the reason why most brands would go with paid ads in the first place is because it's a pay to win. You pay money and it attracts eyes, but there are two real problems with this. First of all, it reduces your profit margins. If you're spending a large portion of all the revenue and cash flow that comes through your brand on ads, and even worse, if you're reliant on it to grow your business, then the amount of profit you actually have left over after manufacturers and sourcing, shipping, all the subscriptions you have to pay for, and then ads is basically nothing. But on top of that, it doesn't even work 90% of the time. You still have to pay for only 1 in 10 ads to actually become a winning ad. And to be honest, those stats just aren't good enough. And so because Marshall knows this, TAMED PSYCHOTIC have taken a different approach where it's organic only, but they do it in a way that's different to most brands. And it's by creating entertaining, lifestyle-focused content that people actually want to watch. And so to explain what I mean, let me show you this clip from their Instagram page that got 260,000 views and over 11,000 likes. Let's watch it together and then we'll break it down.
Go ahead and talk shit about my future generation.
Thank you, baby.
And I'll just pause for a moment because already, before you even understand the story, this video is an identity call out for this American bad boy, the rebellion, the outfits, exactly what they're doing. Just something I'd note.
It's empty.
Everything they have.
Do you notice that even though it's really focused on the story, they've got those little product integrations? You just see the TAMED PSYCHOTIC logo flash up on screen. And there it is again. So good. To be honest, first time I watched that, I was totally expecting it to end with a crazy twist and they just get blown up. But, good thing they didn't. It is Instagram after all. But let's break down why this works so well. And the reason I believe is because it is storytelling focused. No one comes onto Instagram thinking, well, I can't wait to buy some products for some ads that I see today. Even if it's organic ads, no one really looks at flat lays and goes, I'm really glad I looked at that today. That really entertained me. But anyone can consume this type of content, especially if they resonate with the target avatar that we already established in step 1 of the process. And so because it has that as storytelling appeal, it can get 250,000 views, and that's really just the beginning. There's no real cap to its reach. Now, here's the caveat. This type of content is not with purpose to sell products. And you're like, well, they're a clothing brand. What are you talking about? But there's actually different types of content for different purposes. You got to think, if you want to do 2 different things in your brand, you want to grow it or you want to convert followers into buyers. They're 2 separate purposes that each require different types of content. Now, this type of content specifically is with purpose to grow their brand, even though there is product integrated into it, because that's necessary. It's not really the focus. It's more so the lifestyle and how they can create an entertaining story and world around that. But a lot of the brands that I speak to have this problem where they think it's great, the idea of storytelling, but they actually have no idea where to start. And so now I want to give you a really simple framework that anyone can apply no matter what stage your brand is at. And step one is to pick a scene in your brand world. If you remember the first part of the playbook where we created your brand identity, there's certain locations and settings and scenarios that you associate now with that stereotype. For example, for Marshall and TAMED PSYCHOTIC, those scenarios could be a junkyard or an abandoned house or anywhere that kind of represents the American dream and rebellion and those sorts of things. And then once you've got the scene, you want to add your story to it. And you want to do it in that order very specifically. But how do you actually add the story to it? Well, I've created a sentence that makes it really easy. All you need to do is fill in the blank. But first, imagine yourself in the shoes of your avatar, the alternate universe, obsessed version of yourself that really lives and breathes the brand lifestyle. And you're in the scene that you've chosen for your story with a friend who's probably a bit like you. And you turn to him and say, I have this crazy idea to, and then insert the blank with something that your guy would say. For example, I have this crazy idea to break into that house and invite all of our friends over for a party. Now that's something that Marshall might have imagined before creating this short film. And I don't think that's too unrealistic. It's a very simple framework. Now it's not perfect, but it is a simple framework that can probably get you the hero video for 95% of your campaigns. But here's the thing, we could have the best, most viral content in the world. And if people don't realize we're a clothing brand or we're not good at selling products, at the end of the day, it's not a business and we make no money. And so now I'm going to walk you through part 3 of this playbook, where I show you how TAMED PSYCHOTIC consistently turns followers into buyers and still doesn't even need to rely on ads or big budgets. But first, why doesn't your content convert as it is? Well, let me just put it to you really simple. Your content's boring. If we compare your content with TAMED PSYCHOTIC, not only do they make entertaining storytelling videos, they make product ads that are obviously focused on the product that I actually want to watch as well. Like this video here on the right-hand side is completely product focused, and yet it got 1.1 million views. And you won't need to watch much to understand why, but let's have a look together and then we'll break it down. Awesome. I mean, the content is obviously just satisfying for a start, but there's 3 things that they do really well. I mean, first of all, they align with native platform formats. And so you can see here, this is a type of video that you may have seen before. You know, it's got the ASMR, it's got the quick cuts, it's a montage, it's a packaging video. This is like a combination between a few platform formats that we've all seen before that people talk about, and it's just worked again. So that's the first thing. Secondly, the content is actually focused on their product. So you could have a format that has any old focus. It could be motorbikes, it could be rock concerts, it could be whatever. The hard part is, how do you take a format and make sure it relates back to what you're selling? And they've just done that perfectly in this video. But third and finally, it relates to their brand. Remember in the beginning when we established the American bad boy? Well, everything about it, especially the visuals, just relates back to that perfectly. You've got the metal table, the type of bag, of course, the type of products, but also we can get a little glimpse into who this person is by their tattoos, what kind of jewelry or rings that they're wearing on their hands. All of these things speak to the greater lifestyle and brand world, and over time build up your identity as a brand. And you see, TAMED PSYCHOTIC could post a comedy skit reel. And you know, you do see brands doing that. It could go viral and get lots and lots of different eyes on it. However, the problem with that is that it's the wrong format for the wrong purpose. And although it would go viral, it would attract all of the wrong eyes. On the other hand, they could make a documentary long form about the American dream and the grunge scene and all of those things that TAMED PSYCHOTIC is definitely for. It would be perfectly on brand, but then it wouldn't really work in terms of a conversion strategy or a growth strategy for the brand because it's not platform platform native. And so that's why not only do you need product focused content that's on brand, you also need it to be platform native. So how do you, as a brand in a different niche, create product content that isn't boring with formats that actually work for your brand? Well, what I would do is first create a list of your top 10 favorite brands of all time. These are brands that you look up to for product, but especially for their content. And then you're going to go through each of them one by one and sort their reels by most viewed. For example, one of my favorite brands is Basket Case Gallery. So I'm going to go to their brand page. Here it is. I'm going to tap onto their reels, and then I can tap into the reels again and sort by most viewed. Now, this is not available on desktop, only iPad or iPhone. But now what I've done is sorted for Basket Case's top outlier reels. And these are videos that got significantly more views than their average. And so what you're going to do is watch through these and find repeated or unique formats, and then save them into a pattern bank that you can replicate or take those formats and change them for your own brand. So if we just go through a few of these one by one, I'll look at this first one. All right, it looks like a short film. This second one, okay, it's a sort of music video or something. This next one, another short film. All right, this one's interesting. It's like a POV of like finding their brand. I think Kanye West reposted them or something. But I'm going to take this format and personalize it for TAMED PSYCHOTIC. And I think, all right, they're sitting in the car. It's a perspective from the viewer looking at their phone. Now, first thing I'm going to change is the car. So I'm going to do like an old Ford or something like that that resonates more with the TAMED PSYCHOTIC American bad boy customers. Even better, how about a motorbike, like a Harley Davidson? All right, so they're sitting on the motorbike. They pull out their phone and they're scrolling through. The next thing I'm going to change is what's on their feed. So on their feed, I want to see a bunch of motorbikes. I want to see different like denim clothing. I want to see old cars, all those things that are interesting to TAMED PSYCHOTIC customers. And of course, the part I can keep the same is when they scroll across the products and it is my products for TAMED PSYCHOTIC. Awesome. That is how you take a format and you personalize it for your own brand. But the truth is that can be super difficult and take a long time, especially when you're doing it for 10 plus brands and 10 plus pieces of content for each brand. That's over 100 times. So to make it really easy for you, I've just created a document after working for years and years with over 400 different brands of all the different formats you can use for different types of brands. It makes this process really simple and it's for any niche. So you can say, all right, I'm more of a premium brand, so you can look at these formats, or I'm more of an affordable brand, or I'm more streetwear, I'm more refined. You can go into any of those corners and it will show you the best formats for you. Now, if you want to see a video totally different from today's, then click on this. But if you want to see something similar, then click on this. If you'd like to work with me, there's a link in the description to do so. Thanks very much for watching, but I'll see you for the next video.